and it's that time of year where you never know who's going to just roll through the front door. And here I was having a really fun and interesting day at work. We're getting ready for some end of the year closings, and so kind of negotiating some fine-tuning things, like people want to stretch out their closing dates and all that. But lo and behold, my favorite, I should say one of my favorites, so I don't offend anybody too much, but certainly in Sarasota, the Sarasota Bradenton area where I've had some closings, my favorite building inspector, home inspector, Rich Carroll, just dropped in to wish us holiday greetings. And while we always have to wait this magical time on Facebook Lives so people will jump in, so I'm really holding my dynamic, wonderful questions to ask you. But when you came in, we were just sort of shooting the breeze a little bit, and you said something about, I said something about, because we're having a situation come up with people needing to close so quickly that they're not doing home inspections. So, just so you know, like when you buy a new home, you have an inspection period, usually anywhere, 5 to 10 days, usually, maybe longer, to do an inspection of all kinds. So, tell me about the wisdom of this. I mean, people are wanting to close without doing inspections, which just kind of blew my head up.
Well, to be honest, the home inspection protects the buyer first off, because you get an opportunity for somebody who's totally objective to go back through the house, look at the house and see if they can find anything that would be considered wrong. And depending upon the type of inspection, it can be something as simple as looking for outlets that aren't working, to walls that don't have power, and water heaters, or mold in your house, or possibly structural issues up in your roof. All these things your home inspector will go through and look for. They'll crawl through the crawl spaces, they will go up in the attic, they will walk across your roof. They're going to peer in, test every appliance, make sure that every single part of your home is functional. That's the insurance you get. It's more than just having somebody in there that just kind of glances at their house, walk through the house, and it's somebody that isn't emotionally attached. The realtor has an emotional attachment. They want you to be happy. The buyer has an emotional attachment. This is their dream house. Well, you want to make sure that dream doesn't turn into a nightmare, and if you have to move into it and then replace your entire HVAC system at the cost of probably 10 grand, it may not be quite as wonderful a dream. So that's what your home inspector is there for. He's to tell you if there's anything that's going to cost you more than $1,000 after you move into your house.
So I know this is your business, and people would say, of course, he wants to promote his business, but from having been a TV consumer reporter, I know that the best intentions can go crazy. And building codes, I think, have gotten better over the years, for sure. But tell me, what's the worst thing you've ever seen on an inspection that was a really big surprise for somebody?
The worst one is almost always in the Sarasota area, is roofs that are ready to go, and then occasionally you'll go
ready to fall in.
Ready to fall in, where you get up there on the roof, you go, I can't walk anymore on the roof, because if I do, I'm going to be in the living room. That's probably the biggest thing. The other ones that are surprising is sometimes even on new builds. You will go through a new build and you'll take a look and you'll find something that somebody got in a rush or possibly doesn't work. And it just helps the buyer have a little confidence in the decision they make. They know that the house is functioning. Everything is working like it's supposed to. It'd be nothing worse than going into your house and realizing that, hey, for some reason the HVAC system isn't working on the brand new house that just got built when I moved in, or your water heater isn't working in your single mom with 2 kids, which is one that I had actually. It's a brand new house, she's getting ready to move in 2 days. We walked through her with the final inspection, and it's like, yeah, I can't get the water heater to work. And she's just like, I said, yeah, you don't need to wash those kids. They'll be fine, they like to do. So, but not the best thing if you're buying a new house.
So how does a situation like that then get resolved?
They just bring it up to the builder. Most of the builders, they understand that they want to have a good quality product, and their reputation's on the line every single time. They like people to look at them and make sure that everything's right, so that everybody can be happy. We're all in the relationship business. The realtor, the builder, and the home inspector. We want everybody to be happy and to come away feeling really good about the choice they made. You spend that money, a lot of times you're spending more money than you ever will again in your life or have since. And if that's the case, we all want that decision to be a good one. We want everybody to walk away saying, hey, this was the best decision I ever made.
And I've been in the industry for a long time, and I've seen your reports, and they are really detailed. You come in with an iPad and just, you feel like I've even been with you with out-of-town buyers, so they don't come on the inspection, and you really take their place, kind of checking things out, right?
Yeah, and I can remember one of ours that I thought was particularly fun. We had a lot of time. My son and I actually did this inspection, and Ellen followed us around, and we FaceTimed the buyer, the potential buyer, every single test that we were doing, with the exception of I didn't invite her up into the attic with me, but then nobody wants to go up in the attic anyway. But I could take the camera up there and shine it around. They could get a good look. We also brought in ancillary inspectors at that time, a pest inspector that showed them how what they were looking for termites and bugs and such, and a mold inspector that went through and showed them exactly how he tested for the mold and any kind of like Chinese drywall type of questions, problems that they had. So that with the technology today, you can really do a lot without having to be right there next to the home inspector or right there in the same, in the same house at the inspection. You can really learn a lot just from watching.
So we want to invite anybody, I don't know, Tanya, we have somebody else shooting this here. If you're seeing any questions pop up on the bottom, because I invited people to ask questions below, or I'm going to just take a peek and see if I can see anything. Hey, Gail, good to see you. Always like to mention people who are on the call. But if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to drop any comments or questions you might have. It's not often we have a home inspector who drops in, and Rich is such an amazing resource. You were describing something with iron pipes or something like that?
Oh, cast iron pipes. So we were talking about cast iron pipes and what kind of issues those bring up. In and of itself, a cast iron pipe isn't necessarily a problem, but they stopped installing cast iron around 75. And it wasn't necessarily because they were looking to get rid of cast iron, but the plastic pipes, the PVC, was just a better product, and it lasts forever and doesn't go away, whereas the cast iron pipes eventually will rust and rot out, and people with houses that are built before 75 should really get a sewer scope done so that they can understand and see that if they have cast iron pipes underneath their slab. In Florida, most of the houses have a slab. Makes it a little bit more difficult to get the pipe in and out. So it is worth taking a look, having a sewer scope done so that you can see exactly what kind of pipe you have.
And that's something you wouldn't know, just eyeballing it, right?
What happens is when you replumb a house, you replace everything that you can reasonably get to with PVC and CPVC piping. But that piece underneath the slab can be a big deal. In fact, I was even at a mobile home park the other day doing an inspection, and we were noticing that the stuff from the actual mobile home to the sidewalk was all new. And the neighbor walked over and goes, "Yeah, she spent about $2,000 or $3,000 having to replace that." She said, "Is that because this was all cast iron?" She said, "Yeah, that's what they said. It was cast iron. What it was rotting out, and there's no way to do it other than to just dig it up and replace it."
And how much did that come to?
It was between $2,000 and $3,000.
Wow.
In a mobile home park too, where she owned the pipe to where the junction at the road.
Oh, fun. Not fun.
Yeah. So it wasn't what the lady was expecting.
Right.
Who was selling the home.
So really worth it to get an inspection so you don't get stuck with something.
Yeah, and you don't know which one of these. Even if you're pretty handy at HVAC, maybe you're not really handy at roofs. And if you're good at roofs, maybe you're not really handy at electrical. And if your home inspector goes out there and he sees something and he doesn't entirely understand it, what he's going to do is say, "Hey, I want you to bring out an electrician. I want you to bring out an HVAC guy, because this, I don't know exactly what the right answer is, but I know this is wrong. What I'm seeing is wrong." And that's the advantage of an inspection. Is you'll know when to put up your hand and look for help.
And in Florida, you have to be licensed, correct?
Yes,
Tell me about
that's
all
true.
that.
So you have to be licensed in Florida to do home inspection. You also have to have a certain amount of continuing education to be able to do what they call wind mitigation, which is preparing your home for a hurricane and making sure that it is prepared for a hurricane. Almost all of us do that continuing education so that we can, protect people there for their insurance. There's also other licenses. To do mold, you have to have a specific license. To do septic tanks, you have to have a specific license. And it's all kind of designed to protect the consumer, make sure that the consumer has the ability to find that house that they're looking for, right? Find that perfect, their dream house.
Right, I get it. I mean, I just had this weekend, somebody who was looking at a property who said they were going to waive inspections because they want a quick closing. And he said, I'm going to be the inspector. And it's just like, you got to keep your mouth shut. Just trying to say, well, we do have some good inspectors available if you want to change your mind and think maybe you want a second pair of eyes.
And I think one of the things that we do bring to the table that it probably is underestimated is we don't have the googly eyes, the love eyes. I look at this house and it's my dream, right? I'm in love with that, with the banyan tree out in the backyard. I'm in love with that. Yeah, well, it's messing up your sewer line, or it's hitting the wires going to your house, and if a branch falls off, it's going to tear your service off. So you may not look at that. You may not care because that tree is going to be so awesome sitting there having a barbecue underneath it and enjoying the shade from that tree down here. That's what we can bring to the table. So we can bring a pretty objective look at
Right. Not to be Debbie Downer, but just to be realistic.
Sure, and that's the thing is, and there have been plenty of houses out there that I walked away and said, I think you have about $12 worth of things to repair on this house. That's it. $12. That's all I can find.
One of the things we will hear sometimes, the inspector has to find something wrong. But I've actually been with you where it's like, okay, I'm struggling to find something here. So, that does happen too.
I always offer to break something, because that's one of my superpowers, right? I can break stuff pretty easily. No, I think that you have to remember that our job is to find things that are major, right? So if you have to repaint one of the walls, first off, we're not going to tell you that the carpet's ugly. First off, I don't know if you would necessarily want to go with my taste no matter what. But, we're not going to tell you that something's ugly, and we're not going to really look for things that are less than $1,000. Will we tell you there's not a GFI? Yeah, that's a safety issue. Will we tell
that means you don't get electrocuted in the
right,
sink.
by the sink in your kitchen, you should have that protected electrically with ground fault interrupters. But that being said, so much of the time there are little things that we would consider just kind of small and not important. A duct that maybe is a little bit kinked, or things like that. You turn on the faucet and there's a gurgling sound before it goes. So little things may not be a big deal. On the other hand, we'll be able to tell you why too. I know we did a house not too long ago, there was a lot of air in the lines, and they were like, well, why is there a lot of air in the lines? The reason is because the house has been all closed up. It was a snowbird house, so it's been sitting there with the water valved off. You turn the water on, let it all run, and get all that air out of the system so that it'll run. And once you do that, it worked fine. Everything worked fine. But we're looking for things that are going to be major.
Right. Well, we appreciate that. And any other questions that are popping up, Tanya? Is it just everybody's out doing their shopping or something?
Finishing it up,
Something
right?
like buying new homes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you have, again, any questions or comments, I can always forward them to Rich. He's with Home Team Inspection Service and has done just a fabulous job for us and other people with our office. So thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this. And we'll see you later down the line here. Thanks everybody for watching, and have a wonderful holiday.